Pikmin 4 is finally here. Or by the time when this video uploads, it'll be the release day of Pikmin 4. But before we do so, I think it's best to take a look at Pikmin 3, the last Pikmin game before Pikmin 4 released in 2023. So after the release of Pikmin 2, Pikmin actually went for a bit of a hiatus. Which actually, looking back, it actually is a common thing for Pikmin, as it took 9 years between Pikmin 2 and 3, and now it takes 10 years between Pikmin 3 and 4. But anyway, so after the release of Pikmin 2, they went on to make Pikmin 3, but it took them a really long time because after a couple of years of development, they decided to move on to the Wii U for the next big Pikmin game. I've actually have a lot of memories for Pikmin 3. This is actually the first ever Pikmin game I've ever played. So back in the day when Mario Kart 8 was on the Wii U, if you get the game very early, you can enter the code in Club Nintendo to get a game for free. I was able to get it early around that time, so once I was able to get to the Club Nintendo code, one of the big games they had for free was Pikmin 3, which is going to be the version I'm going to be playing for this video. But anyway, so with everything out of the way, let's get started. So with Pikmin 3, this is very different compared to the last two games, because for this game, we're focusing on characters from a different planet from the other two games. So in the last game at Hokotate, they were on the brink of bankruptcy, while on this planet, they're on the brink of starvation. So in order to prevent them from starving to death, they send out 3 astronauts to go to a different planet to find food supplies. They so happen to land on the Pikmin planet, where unfortunately, as fate suggests, they then crash onto the Pikmin planet. In the prologue, you start as playing as the captain of the astronauts, where he eventually gets captured, so you end up playing as Alf. Luckily, Alf was able to encounter some Pikmins nearby, where he was able to get to the ship in time. He eventually was able to find Brittany, but no sign of the captain. So it's up to them to figure out where the captain is and try to find a way home while getting a lot of food on the way. The story is very different from other Pikmin games, but at the same time it's still very simple. While the main purpose of going to the planet was to find food supplies, that is not really your main goal in this game. Instead, it's trying to find the key drive to get off the planet. While on the way, you're trying to find the astronauts that became stranded on the planet. But anyway, so for the gameplay. If you're familiar with the first two games, you're going to be comfortable playing through this game. But there's a couple of quality of life features that they added for this game, with one of my favorites being how the onion works this time. So in the previous two Pikmin games, you'll have multiple onions following you that has certain colors in them. But in Pikmin 3, they decided to do this thing where if you find a brand new Pikmin type, it'll merge into one big onion. And this will also leave a cool little colorful effect on the onion, which looks really nice. They also do a lot more with the multiple captains than the last game, where you can actually automatically pinpoint where the captain should go automatically, while you can do something else. Which is honestly a cool feature that the Wii U gamepad had. And speaking of the Wii U gamepad, I love the use they use for the Wii U gamepad for the touchscreen, where you can do crazy range for the whistle, for example, and be a lot more precise than the GameCube controller. And lastly, not only you can throw the regular Pikmin, you can also throw your crewmates that can be very useful for certain puzzles. This would have been interesting if they had that in Pikmin 2, because I wanted to throw Louie off a cliff. So in Pikmin 3, there are about 5 Pikmins in the main game, while the other 2 are the ones from Pikmin 2, but they've been relegated to multiplayer mode. Red, yellow, and blue Pikmin still acts the same as the previous games, but we have brand new Pikmin for this one, such as the winged Pikmin. Now these Pikmin aren't necessarily useful in battle, but they make up for it for being very useful in escorting items. Since the winged Pikmin are flying in the air, they are able to pick up items and fly it back to the ship, avoiding a lot of enemies and water. There's also certain areas where you're definitely going to need a winged Pikmin to get through a gate, or these special clipboards that I swear they just plant up a lot around this area and that's it. The only major weakness the winged Pikmin have is once again just the battling, and also these stupid spiders. Because I swear to Christ, they show up at the most inconvenient time. And the second Pikmin we have are the rock ones. These are pretty much the replacements of the purple one from the second game, but they're a lot more balanced than the purple ones. So just like the purples, you can just throw the rock Pikmin on the enemies and they'll go down instantly. However, they do have some setbacks. For one, unlike most of the Pikmin in this game, they cannot latch onto the enemies and they're a lot slower. So it's best way you try to throw the rock Pikmin to call them back so you can throw them back to the enemy again, and leaving the latching to the other Pikmins like the reds. Another great thing about the rock Pikmin is that they're very durable, as unlike the other Pikmins, they're completely immune from being crushed. And lastly, it's best to use the rock Pikmin to break the various glass or crystallized rocks, which honestly feels very satisfying because how impactful it feels. And also the rock Pikmin are just really cute. Like, all the Pikmins are really adorable, but the rock Pikmins are just something funny, because they're just like, they're pretty much like a rock with googly eyes on them. But anyways, so in Pikmin 3, you have 5 areas to explore. The first one, although you don't do a lot until later in the game, is Tropical Wilds. This area has an emphasis on building bridges and such. Because in order to get to various islands and such, you're going to need to go through the long way, but once you find all the puzzle pieces, you can build a bridge to make things a lot quicker. Garden of Hope is an interesting one, because I consider this one a bit of a 2-level-in-one. With the first half focusing on the rock Pikmin, while the other half focusing on the blue Pikmin. Between the two, I think I prefer the blue Pikmin sections a bit more because they feel a bit more puzzle-based. Distant Tundra is technically the first ever level you'll be in the prologue, but that is very short, and you really come here in the third area where you get to find the captain. This area really stressed me out because over one big thing. So in this area, you need the yellow Pikmin to explore the area, which is on Brittany's side, while on the other side you have Alf's. This one stressed me out over one thing, which is that you need to juggle between 2 of them, and Brittany cannot come onto the ship because she's stranded on the other side. This kind of made me stress out because I had no idea what the repercussions would be if I just leave Brittany stranded on the planet at night. With that being said, I think it's appropriate to talk about the new time limit system for this game. So in Pikmin 1, the time limit is that you only have 30 days to get all the ship parts back or else Olimar dies. In the second game, there is no time limit, so you can explore the planet as much as you want. But in the third game, it's kind of a bit of an in-between where you can explore as much as you want, however, it is very dependent on how much food you have. So your main goal in this game is to collect fruits so you can feed the planet, but also you can feed yourselves. Every time you collect a certain amount of fruit, you'll be able to fill up this juicer container that is just honestly good looking. Because holy crap, I have never seen water physics like this before because it just looks so good. Honestly, after playing through this game, it made me want to drink apple juice a lot. But anyway, so the final area we have is Twilight River. This is an area that emphasizes the lily pads and the winged Pikmin. Honestly, all these levels in this game are really good. I'd say these are the best levels in the Pikmin series. It may not be as fast-paced as the original, but honestly, everything just feels very compact in this game. With a lot of cool secrets you can explore to reward you with lots of fruits, it's just really fun to explore. And while you're exploring, you can also find various bosses. These bosses are a lot different from the other games because this has a lot bigger of a scope than the other two. And with their big skies, along with the camera angles and such, they really feel truly threatening. With my favorite being the Quagmire Clops. With its over-the-top size, it's just really fascinating and really satisfying to take this thing down with just a herd of Pikmin. I had a hard time getting this thing down and lost a lot of Pikmin, but it was honestly worth it at the end. And the best part is that you can actually leave the boss fight and he'll still have this health down, even if it's the next day. The funniest thing is that I had no time to defeat the boss, so I had to leave, and this is what the captain had to say. And yeah, that's all I can say about the gameplay for Pikmin 3. This game feels a lot more polished than the other two games. Not saying the GameCube titles are very buggy, I really love those games. It's just that controlling the captains and the Pikmins feel a lot more refined. Like, a lot of times during the GameCube games, some of the Pikmin will clip through the bridges, for example, and fall into the water. But that is not an issue here. I did not worry a second that a Pikmin would lose it or fall into the water by accident. Not only that, but I also love the advantages that the Wii U gamepad is. While you're trying to go to a certain destination, you can also tell a certain crewmate to go to another destination automatically. This is huge for a time management game like this. And it helped me out multiple times, which is always a pleasure. And what I also love is that it encourages you to separate the crews a lot of times, because there are certain areas where you're going to need to throw the crewmates around certain areas. And as for the presentation, this game is just freaking amazing. The luscious environments and everything just looks very polished. It looks so clean, and it feels so alive. Like, just look at us climbing up this tree area and look at the backgrounds. It's just so beautiful. This game honestly proves, despite the Wii U having weak hardware, Nintendo still can make a game that looks as good as a modern gen console. I mean, hell, as I said earlier, they have the most impressive looking fruit I've seen in a video game. And just like Sonic Unleashed, I could smell the Wii U burning trying to render all the water physics when juicing the fruit. The music in this game is also a masterpiece. I kind of prefer the first game over the third entry in terms of music, but the music in this game is still amazing. The only gripe I have with this game is that I'm not really a big fan of the main characters in Pikmin 3. I don't know, I just don't find them as memorable as Olimar or Louie. Not to say they're bad, but I don't think they're as good as Olimar and Louie were. And not to say that they were completely absent in this game, because they are a main role in the story, which I think it's probably an appropriate time to talk about. So the main story of this game is pretty much the Cop-Eye heading to this planet to get fruit, but they weren't the only ones who traveled to the Pikmin planet, as Olimar and Louie also returned to the Pikmin planet to search for treasure. Unfortunately, as fate suggests, Olimar literally crashes the ship again. I am convinced that he's literally the worst Nintendo driver. But anyway, so Olimar and Louie became separated from the ship, with Louie being close to the ship, but Olimar is completely missing. The crewmates realize that Olimar might have the key to send them home, so they set out to find him. Eventually, as the crewmates travel through the planet, we'll get contact by Louie saying that he is in danger. The crewmates assume that this is Captain Olimar, so they set out to find Louie and rescue him. And the next day after that, Louie then hijacks their spaceship, stole all their food, and blew up a wall. How in the hell did Louie blow up a wall? Like, the food thing, I get it, he's a glutton, but how did he blow up a freaking wall? And that's not even the worst thing he did. He also stole the captain's rubber ducky. I mean, Louie, that is a low blow, even by your standards. Like, what did we ever do to you? So yeah, there's not necessarily like a big endgame goal, unless you're counting saving Louie, but who really wants to save Louie? Okay, fair enough. I honestly really like this plot point because it throws an interesting wrench to the gameplay. Since Louie stole all the food, you are very desperate to find even more food around the area, otherwise it's game over. And once you've recaptured Louie and tie him up, you're able to go to the final area of the game. Now this area is a massive gauntlet. So once you start the area, you find Olimar instantly, but he's being captured by this weird creature. This creature has a bit of a motherly defense towards Olimar, so you have to escort him through the area while avoiding this giant blob thing. This is honestly my favorite section of the game because of how tense and challenging these sections are. You're really going to need every single Pikmin you find in this game for this one big gauntlet. And once you've escorted Olimar out of that section, you're going to need to defeat the monster, and he uses every single elemental attack against the Pikmin. If it turns into electric field, use the yellows. If it turns into a bubble, use the blues. If it turns into an ice cube, use the rocks. This is honestly the best Pikmin boss fight in the entire series, and a great way to end this game. And once you defeated the mysterious monster, Olimar is freed. He then thanks the crew for saving his life from the monster, and then gave him back the Cosmic Key Drive, which is the key to getting them home. After they return Louie to Olimar, they then sent home with all the fruits they've collected. And that concludes Pikmin 3. And overall, this game is still really good. I honestly go down and say this is probably the best Pikmin game in the series. I haven't played Pikmin 4 yet, so maybe that's gonna change, but still, this game is just really good. It keeps what made Pikmin great while refining it to near perfection. And after all these years, it is honestly amazing to see the relevancy of Pikmin return. Like, Pikmin is always a well-known Nintendo series, but it was never really a juggernaut franchise compared to Mario or Zelda. It was always one of the Nintendo underdogs. And not to say that Pikmin has been completely dormant for a decade, because we still had somewhat Pikmin content around the way. Like, we had a weird spin-off for the 3DS called Hey Pikmin. There was also the mobile games, Pikmin Bloom and such, and there was also the fantastic animated shorts, but it is honestly really satisfying to finally see the 4th entry after so many years. And the next time we'll be here, we'll be talking about Pikmin 4. Probably one of the most anticipated games for the Nintendo Switch this year. But that'll do for today, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye!